when I think of the journey I just took with my son, because I just got back Monday, a couple days ago from this filming, of, watching him go through his big purchase, you really have to be honored to be entrusted with it, because it's a big deal.
Totally. And, don't you feel the same way when you get a referral?
For sure.
I mean, that's where my mind went with that is, oh my goodness, that's how you feel. You're entrusted when someone says, oh my gosh, you need to call my friend Lisa.
Yeah.
And no one else, because she will take the best care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to High Trust Professionals, a podcast where we interview top industry and community leaders, business owners, and entrepreneurs from across the country. Hear what it takes to build trust, be a respected leader, be productive, and win your day. Sit back and relax as we dive into another episode of High Trust Professionals podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Trust Professionals podcast. I'm Lynette Arrasmith, your host, and with me today I have the lovely and the well-established Lisa Ritter, broker owner extraordinaire of RE/MAX Results.
Thank you.
Welcome.
For having me.
Did I get all that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So excited to have you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. We know we all have other things we could be doing. And so for the audience, I have had the pleasure of, I would say, watching Miss Lisa grow her career over the last several years. So I'm anxious to dive into that and really have just been so impressed by the way that you run your business, the way that you run your franchise, the way that you run your team.
Appreciate it.
So, and I mean that, going back in my years, 15 in real estate, way back when.
Yeah.
I always say, for those that are just listening, I'm pushing my crow's feet back because 15 years in real estate and then another 15 almost in mortgage lending.
Yeah.
Yeah. That either makes me old or experienced. I don't know.
Yeah.
So let's just talk first about real estate. Like, what inspired you to really jump into the real estate market, which was how long ago?
22 years ago.
22 years. Okay. 22 years. I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of ebbs and flows and ups and downs. So what was the inspiration for that decision?
Well, I started working at 15, excuse me. And I was in the telemarketing industry, and I did that for like 8 years. And then I was so burnt out already at the age of like early 20s, something like that. I stayed at home and babysat other people's children and my own. And if those of you that know me well, you're like, that's not going to work.
No offense, but really.
It really didn't work. So it became clear I needed to go back to work.
Yeah.
And I decided, well, gosh, I'm going to do something I love this time. And I'm going to go shop for homes. Real estate just looks so awesome and fascinating.
Air quotes, shop. I'm going to get into real estate. Okay. All right. Tell me more.
And so I had just got done relocating a couple of times. And on one of the relocations, the agent just was so rude. Our car actually broke down, and I had an infant and a toddler. And I was like, we're a few blocks away, but the car's broken down and it's really hot. Do you think you could come pick us up? And she's like, no, you're going to have to figure it out. You're only a few blocks away. And truly, then I asked her for the utility numbers. And
was that here in Omaha?
No, it was in Wisconsin.
I was going to say, oh my gosh, I have to know.
Oh, yeah. Right? And then I asked her for the utility numbers. She's like, I don't have time for this. They're in the phone book. And she only had to show us like a few homes. So it was just,
wow.
I'm like, if I could just be a little nice, then I can make a killing.
Yeah. And you have, by the way.
I've done well, yeah.
I'd say you're a little nice, more than a little nice. Depends on the
Everybody
day.
has their days, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I say when someone says, oh, you're so kind, I'm like,
not every time.
Don't ruin my image. No, do not ruin that image. Okay, so totally get that. And now, why RE/MAX?
Okay, so that was a pretty easy decision.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been there, done that in terms of real estate companies. I've worked for the biggest and I'd worked for the smallest at the time when I was like here, there, and everywhere. And when it became clear that I was having the inspiration to open my own, I wanted to work with a big national brand that a lot of people trust. And their technology and training is second to none. And you are dealing with the big dogs when you do anything RE/MAX National. So when you go to their conferences, I mean, you hear the biggest names. I mean, you're right there live with Brian Buffini, and my team usually gets right up there in that front row.
Of course you do.
We talk
as you should.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who doesn't know Brian Buffini absolutely should Google Brian Buffini. He's an amazing, amazing.
He's a real
person.
estate star.
He's a real estate star, absolutely. Yeah.
But like then movie stars and you know, top government officials and things like that. Like it's just awesome.
Yes.
And their technology, they sell the most homes in the world. So they have lots of money to reinvest in marketing. And when people are moving from Texas, California, Florida, you know, those big population states, they don't know our local names.
No, right.
And they're not comfortable with our local names. They know RE/MAX. Yeah. And so I love our size because our team gets a lot of business from just those relocation referrals. Yeah, being RE/MAX. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I have so much respect for RE/MAX as a company, as a brand. Years ago, I can't remember where I was, the owner or founder.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome. Dave Liniger.
Yes, was a speaker. And I'm like,
I know.
You're my hero.
Agreed.
I mean, really?
Yeah.
It was, I think I've heard him speak twice, actually. Amazing.
He's amazing.
Yeah. So I know a little bit, just enough to be a little dangerous. And so you stuck with it in real estate. And I don't know about you, but I have someone in my family that works with me in my business.
Yes.
I think you might too.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Oh, so Dennis, the love of my life, been with him since 15, married since 20, so 30 years now.
Yeah.
And he did some corporate work, like in the banking world initially. Eventually, long story short, decided to go into lending right at about the time that I had entered real estate. And I was like, no, you cannot do this. Like for the first day or two. I mean, I kind of actually cried. I'm like, we can't both be commissioned.
Yeah, that's hard.
And we were kind of forced into it because his corporation had a layoff. And so I'm like, okay, fine. It's going to be fine. And you know, it was the best decision that was ever made. And he did that for a long time, somewhere about 10, 12 years. And then when we decided that someday we're going to open our own company, it just like, well, get your license. And now he does it full-time, been doing it full-time for over a decade with me. And we have won 11 Best of Omaha awards, which is one of the awards I'm most proud of. Yes. Those are tough to get.
Congratulations. They're really tough to get.
Yeah. They're audited by a CPA firm. So it's like the real deal. And even though my son's in cybersecurity, we're not cheating. I promise we are not. He would never use his powers for that.
His superpowers.
Right. And so he always brags that he's the one that made that happen.
Yeah.
But really,
that's funny. Yeah. No, yes, you did.
Right.
No, you didn't. Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that is super cool. So you work with your husband. I work with my son, which I love.
Yeah.
Every day.
We love it too.
Oh, and you know what? You can tell. I did poke around on your website a little bit, and you know what? You've got some fun videos there. You've got some great resources there. So we'll let people know where to find you for sure.
Thank you.
So, what's your favorite thing about real estate?
The fact that it changes all the time. I think I would get so bored if it remained the same.
Yeah, I agree.
I love working with different people, and the reality is, when you've been doing this long enough and serving a lot of people, not every customer is your favorite customer. Right. But it's okay. You're going to get through that. Yeah. And then you're going to meet fascinating, grateful, wonderful, kind ones that just lift your spirits and remind you of why you're doing it. So it's so different every day. And I love the challenge of that. And the other thing that I love about it is I get to be a highly paid, unlicensed psychologist without having to have gone through 8 years of schooling for it.
So true. I'm going to steal that.
Yes.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I can think of many conversations just this week, which, that's, to me, like you said, that's part of the blessing of what we do.
For sure.
We get to talk to people, get to know people, help them navigate through what can be one of the most stressful things they've ever had to do, right?
Yeah. We have to remember that.
Oh, we do. Yeah. And it's not, oh my gosh, there's so-and-so calling again. No.
Right.
There's a question, there's a challenge, something, there was a left turn versus a right turn. I had a client just today even say, is it always like this?
Right.
And I said, no.
Right.
No, you know what? Unfortunately, in your scenario, we've had this, this, and this, which isn't always the norm.
Right.
But we're navigating through that together.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The variety is awesome.
Yes.
Because you're never bored.
Right.
The people we get to meet, amazing.
Yeah.
And yes, sometimes we do have to put on our psychiatrist hat to say, okay, we'll do this. We'll get there.
Right. And it is a big deal to be like entrusted with that. Like when I think of the journey I just took with my son, because I just got back Monday, a couple days ago from this filming, of, watching him go through his big purchase. You really have to be honored to be entrusted with it, because it's a big deal.
Totally. And, don't you feel the same way when you get a referral?
For sure.
I mean, that's where my mind went with that is, oh my goodness, that's how you feel. You're entrusted when someone says, oh my gosh, you need to call my friend Lisa.
Yeah.
And no one else, because she will take the best care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things I really took away from one of your videos on your website is the care factor. I would call it the care factor. And it's, you're putting first things first, the things that need to be first, because everything else will follow.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I agree. So as a career woman, a business owner, a wife of now 30 years.
Yes.
It's a long time, by the way. A mother of 2 sons who, oh, by the way, audience, we were just chatting before we started, and Lisa said, I have 2 sons and they are amazing human beings. Yeah. I love that. I love that. So, all that being said, because we juggle so much, especially as professional women in business, no offense to the men, but sometimes we just carry a little bit more on our shoulders. What are you most proud of? Yeah. And it can be, I want to hear business side and maybe personal side too.
Yeah. For the business side, I'd say the 11 Best of Omaha Awards, because that's customers taking the time to do it.
Yes.
Secondarily, probably being a commissioner, which is a surprise because I went into that role trepidatiously.
Ooh, okay, so tell everyone what that means, a commissioner.
Yeah. So it's an appointment from the governor, and you sit and hear hearings and are part of advising on law. And you decide, who's right and who's wrong in real estate cases.
Yeah. So you are a real estate commissioner for the state of Nebraska.
Yes, 1 of 7. So it's a huge honor, and you do that role for 6 years, and it's taught me a lot. Oh my word,
that's a commitment.
Amazing.
That's a commitment.
Yeah, it is, but it's worth it.
But it's
just
an honor.
An honor. Yeah, yeah. So that would be my business things, and of course, actually, Remax Results is like, it's almost like this. It's an entity that you're just. It's bigger than life to me now, because we're just entrenched, making sure that the lives of our agents are beautiful and wonderful, and all of those customers that they're taking care of are served very well. So that's a big responsibility.
That's a huge,
as well.
I know and work with a few people in your office, and oh my gosh, they love it. I mean, love it, love.
That's awesome.
The vibe, the environment, the camaraderie, your leadership. One of my favorite subjects to talk about absolutely is leadership, because I think that there's just a misnomer. Back in the day, we used to be managers.
Yeah, yeah.
No one likes a manager.
Right.
No one wants a manager. They want someone to follow, to be a good example, right? So how about personally?
Yeah, personally, being married 30 years, and some people would be like, is that really an accomplishment? Yes, it is.
Absolutely. You know what? Takes one to know one. That is a huge accomplishment. Kudos to you for that.
He is the love of my life, but it takes effort
Mm-hmm.
to maintain any relationship, whether business or personal. And we're both very committed to that. So that's first and foremost. And then secondly, my amazing human beings of sons. Daniel is about to take on a very big role. He'd probably prefer I not say for who publicly, but it's awesome. And he's moving to Seattle. And we just helped him buy a wonderful home there.
This is the cybersecurity son. Yes.
Yeah, he's a genius.
That. Yeah.
Of course, I'm a little biased.
Wait a minute. If you're going to say that, you got to toss your hair a little bit.
And we joke about where'd they get it from, and I always say Dennis because he is incredibly smart. But our other son is he's in law school right now, and he got full tuition to a top 50 law school. So I'm very proud of him.
As you should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
A great accomplishment.
Yeah.
So let's change gears just a little bit. So, in both of our businesses, real estate, mortgage lending, the market's been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could say interesting, we could say volatile, we could say challenging.
Yes.
I mean, how in the world do you guide your clients and even, the agents in your office? How do you guide them through challenging times?
Yeah. So for the agents in my office, in terms of how I guide them, and they'll tell you that I say this till I'm blue in the face in every meeting and training, and that is there's always going to be business there for real estate. It is just going to go to the best of the best that have earned it.
Mm-hmm.
And you earn it by showing that you care. And you show that you care by asking lots of questions, being authentic, being incredibly communicative, and having the hard conversations when they need to be had. Yeah. And helping people determine and navigate their own risk level tolerances. Because there's a lot of that decision making that goes into producing a beautiful result.
Right.
So that's what I focus on when leading my agents through these changing and volatile times. And when I'm leading my customers through it, because I'm a producing broker, which I'm very proud of, because I can advise people on how life really is today versus 5 or 10 years ago.
Yes.
When I'm advising customers, I try to ask a lot of questions to determine what their goals really are emotionally and financially. Because it's not always about the finances.
No.
It's really not. And so you really have to dig deep and keep asking questions till you can really get to what their goals are.
Right. Exactly. I love that. So I love how you kind of weave the word results in there.
Yeah. It's all about the results at the end of the day.
It is.
It is.
It is. But one of the things you said is so key, and it's asking questions. It's making sure it's not just here's one size fits all.
Right.
One size does not fit all.
Right.
What are we trying to accomplish?
Yes.
And it doesn't matter in our world. It doesn't matter if someone can afford this much of a monthly payment if their comfort level's here.
That's
so
right.
Let's talk through that. What does that look like? How are we going to get there? I liken it to, and this is exactly how I hear you do business. We are pilots, and I'm going to help you travel from one coast to the other, and there might be some turbulence along the way, but guess what? I'm going to be right there.
Right
there.
For
I've got
sure.
that mask.
Yeah.
And you won't have to pull the parachute.
Right.
Fingers crossed.
Right.
So I think that's amazing. And, good leaders, like you said, good leaders talk about the tough times.
Yes.
It's not like everything's rosy. It's not.
Right.
Inventory's low.
Yeah.
Interest rates are high.
Yeah.
So how do we survive in that environment? And like you said, there is business to be had. You just have to be that shining star.
Right.
That catches that business.
Right. And I think our agents, speaking agent-wise, they're going to have to take risks and think bigger and do things outside of the box, and we're going to have to adapt.
This morning, one of my little video snippets, maybe it was Monday, we talked about, always I talk about prospecting and the importance of activity. Always. You've got activity breeds results.
Agreed.
Results.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That was not even on purpose. You're welcome. Okay. So anything else market driven? Is there anything, if someone says, hey, you know what, I was going to buy a house today and I don't know, values are high, rates are high. What do you think? How would you answer that?
Well, there's a phrase that's becoming popular in our industry, and I'm going to go ahead and say it.
Okay.
Date the rate, marry the house.
Yeah.
And, I had to walk my own flesh and blood through that this last week.
Yes, you did.
And he is having to double what he spent in Omaha.
Yeah.
To get a maybe comparable product in the Seattle market. So to Omahans, I'd say, let's count our blessings.
Yes, right? I agree. You're right.
Let's count our blessings.
There's something to be said about the Midwest.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah. So their median price, runs about $800,000 in the Seattle market.
Yeah.
And if you want something nice, you're spending anywhere between $600 and $1,000 per square foot.
Wow.
So I guess that's the first thing I'd say to Omahans.
Put it in perspective.
We have it great. Let's put it in perspective. The other thing that I would say is the risk is worth it. Especially if I'm talking to a person who's not a homeowner right now. You have to jump in the market at some point. It typically doesn't get easier over the years to jump in the market. The amount of years that we have had extreme buying power, or the crash is a very small, minute portion of years in comparison to our historical records. And so if you don't buy now, like I'm going to use a story here. I know somebody who we've been trying to talk her into buying for 4 or 5 years probably. Didn't jump in when the rates were at 3, 4, 5%. Maybe could have bought a house at $250 today. Just a few years later, you're looking at a median price of roughly $350 and interest rates at 7.
Yeah.
And we don't know that it's going to get better.
No.
And if at some point she doesn't proceed, 30 years from now, if you're 70, you are completely subject to whatever somebody else wants to charge for rent.
Right.
And their conditions and their pricing. So at some point, just diving in.
Have to. Yep. Sometimes it's a matter of taking that leap of faith.
Yeah.
And no, it's, this isn't the crash. This is not 08, 09.
No.
Values are still going to go up. That's what I'm reading. It might not be the huge numbers that they've been, but...
Which, thank God, a little bit.
Yes. But you know what? We still are going to see appreciation. Right. And so if you wait, even if rates come down a smidge, your net result in terms of out-of-pocket payment is not going to change. So I agree.
And then you haven't paid down the house.
And then you haven't paid down. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you have been such a wonderful mentor to so many. Who's the one person that you'd love to have as a mentor, or maybe someone you'd love to just have coffee with to pick their brain? That could be any. I don't care.
In terms of coffee to pick their brain, probably either Oprah Winfrey or Tony Robbins. I mean, I think big, right?
Good. You know what? I'm so glad. I would love to sit down with either or both of them. Also. Yeah, amazing people.
Yeah.
Have accomplished so much.
And they came from nothing.
I love that. That's a great answer. How about if you could go back to your younger self, what would you say? What would you tell yourself?
Take more risks and you're better than you think.
Oh, okay. I love that. Take more risks. Yes. Yeah. Sometimes that safe road gets you stuck.
For sure.
And you're better than you think.
I spent a lot of my younger years thinking I wasn't good enough and feeding myself that message, and then it just breeds more bad results.
Right.
And when I started to shift that, things started working a lot better.
Right. Sometimes it's that mindset.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
You are what you think.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to share with our audience today?
I'll share a story about my son. This is my oldest child. So, he came from a middle class, maybe some would argue upper middle class. But we tried to raise our boys with a spirit of humbleness, but strong work ethic. So it's not like he just came out of the womb with a silver spoon.
Yeah.
We had family contribution time.
Oh, I love that.
Serious amounts. And both my boys were doing their own laundry by 8.
Okay.
So truly, they really were. But what I did well with both of them is taught them to think for themselves and think big. I was like, you guys, I didn't think big enough early enough. And I want you to know that there are no limits. If you ever want to move away from mama, I will be so sad, but it's going to be okay. And I don't care where in the world it is or what you're doing. If you're following your dream, I'm going to support you every step of the way. And so they really got a good handle on that concept and thankfully believe me and are living it. And we were playing skee ball. My oldest and I were playing skee ball. And I was going for the 50, little hole. And I was proud of myself because I was getting a few of them. I'm like, this is great. This is wonderful. And my son went and played the second game to see if he could beat me. And every time he went for the 100 slot.
Did he get it?
He did. He got it several times. So I ended up with a score of 270 and he ended up a score of 300. So so they had 9 balls, and he got the 200 things. Yeah. But it's just enough to beat me. Now compound that over time.
Right.
He took the bigger risks. And if you added that up over time in terms of what it measures up to,
huge
it's
accomplishment.
Huge. So think big, live large.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm gonna think big, live large.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, on that note, I'm going to say thank you.
Yeah,
thank you
for
Lisa Ritter, for sharing your day with us. Where can everyone find you? If they said, oh my gosh, I love this message and I want to work with her.
Thanks. Yeah.
Where would they go?
RittersSellHomes.com.
Ritters, plural.
Yeah.
Sellhomes.com.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, guys, that's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining High Trust Professionals podcast. I'm your host, Lynette Arrasmith. Hey, listen, let's connect. Like, follow, whatever. You know where to go. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and don't forget TikTok. See you next time.